watching this, it's probably because you just discovered building sales pages on Kajabi is freaking hard, or at least a little harder than advertised. But before you throw the towel in on Kajabi completely, watch this video. I'm gonna show you how to set up your sales page fast with no fluff. Let's go. Whether you're a new Kajabi user or a designer that's setting up a project for a client, let me assure you, once you get past this point, you will be flying. I've been serving digital product creators for over 12 years now, and I have tried every platform out there. Kajabi definitely has it all and is the most scalable without having to like Frankenstein a whole bunch of different software together. So I definitely think it is the best. However, it's marketed towards new users, and a lot of new users have a hard time getting it set up. So I'm gonna help you in this video. Now, the thing you need to know about Kajabi is that it's a rigid platform, but you might come to appreciate that in time. Let me ask you a question. If a friend says, hey, where do you wanna go to dinner tonight? You have no idea what to say, right? Like you can't think of any spot. But if they say, hey, I'm thinking about our dinner plans tonight, what's your favorite curry spot? Suddenly, all these places come to mind that you can take them to or that you guys can go to together. The same is true of Kajabi. All you need to know is what your options are for your settings, your sections, and your blocks. And once you figure that out, you, like I said, will be flying. And for those who don't know, before you move further, I have a beautiful Kajabi template shop, and every single template comes with step-by-step tutorials of how to set them up. So if you're like, hey, I really want like a very hands-on, you're walking it through step-by-step with me outside of this video on a specific template, then head to thelaunchpeople.com. All templates are available for purchase there. The most important thing that you need to do to create your sales page quickly is to write your copy first. Now, just to keep this nice and visual for you, I am going to go ahead and replicate a sales page that I already have just to keep us moving along here. But I definitely recommend starting with your copy. So this training is how to create a sales page specifically. So what we're going to do is head to website. And the difference between a sales page and a website is a sales page can be standalone. So it might not have all the same branding as your website, but just note that if you did want to recreate your website or create a new website in Kajabi, the fundamentals of building on Kajabi are inside this tutorial. So this would definitely apply. You would just start here versus starting where I'm about to tell you, which is to go to pages and then go to our landing page area. So these are going to be a standalone pages and these are going to be our website pages. Okay. But we're not building a website today. We're just building a sales page for an offer. So what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and browse templates. And I love starting with templates if I can. If you want beautiful templates designed specifically for Kajabi sales pages, head to thelaunchpeople.com. We do have a template shop, but there are some free ones available. Okay, so I am looking at these templates and I'm just gonna choose one that is the closest to what I have going on here, which is gonna be this Gates template. Okay, so I'm gonna get started with this. You can choose whichever one feels right to you. So then I'm gonna title this with my offer title and hit create, give it a minute. Okay, so we immediately get brought into the page designer once we open this template. So we're not gonna worry about SEO yet or our URL or any of that. We're just gonna go right into designing and I'll show you how to edit that stuff a little bit later. So out of the gate, this is a pretty cool template, but it doesn't have near as enough sections for a cold audience to make a decision about purchasing. It's a really great like a masterclass template though, which it looks like is what it's for, but we want to add our actual sales page sections. And again, I'm working off this template. So what we're going to do first when we get into the website builder is we're going to go into settings. And then we want to make sure that our style guide matches what we actually have going on for our brand styles. Now, if you don't have any of this yet and you're content with the way that things look by default, if you like these fonts, if you like these colors, then you don't have to adjust this at all. But if, let's say, these aren't exactly the colors that you want to use in your design, here is where you can change those things, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my reference design, and it looks like my colors are, I have these pink buttons and they turn to blue. And I also have this dark color that appears, and it looks like my main background is kind of an off-white. It's not like a true white. And so I'm just gonna note that as I go through. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to make my button color. I think I'm gonna make it this pink because for the most part, all these buttons are pink. So I have a little color picker extension for Chrome. This one is called Color Pick Eyedropper. There's a lot of them out there, so feel free to choose what works for you. It looks like our button colors. So buttons are down here, and this is actually pretty close, but I'm just gonna paste in my actual button color. And then for a primary color, I have that other kind of bluish color happening. And so I am going to choose that. It's kind of like more of a blue purple, but and then I have this darker color in some backgrounds, but I'm just gonna add those in section by section. So I'm gonna make this my primary color, hit enter. And then I want to change up my fonts. Now there is a way to add custom fonts in Kajabi. And if you want a custom font that is not like an ugly Google font or something, then you can definitely change those out. It's a little bit more complex, so I'm going to link to some other creators below that have great tutorials on how to do this. Okay, now that we have the design style for our sales page, the next thing that we're going to do is go over sections, okay? So the reason why I wanted you to start with your copy first is my strategy is that you should go through and add the sections that include your copy and generally like the elements that you want in that section first without getting in the caught in the weeds of making them perfect as you go, okay? So what we want to do is look at the general blocks that we have inside of either, our doc or maybe a reference page that we're working with and just smack them down. And then we kind of pretty them up and work on details later. That helps us really feel like we're achieving something and get through the design process fast without getting caught in the weeds and being like, oh my gosh, this isn't working for me, okay? So what you need to know is sections are kind of like these content sections that include other blocks within them, okay? So if you, for instance, were working with some other sort of page builder in the past, like Beaver Builder or Elementor or some, other sort of page builder, even like Squarespace, then your sections would be like rows, or like if you're working with a Squarespace index page, like a page, and then your actual blocks inside of them or like your columns, okay? And so that is how all of that works. So if you were to add a new section, you can see that we have all of these types of sections to choose from. And this is what I was talking about before, is like these are the restrictions that we're working with. And then once we know what they are, we can go ahead and adapt them to our needs, okay? So what you might want to keep these just in case you want to employ them for a piece of your sales page. So for instance, this section right here looks really similar to this in terms of like the content, right? So we have this, it's time to design with sales in mind. And then I have this image here and all that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and I might even add another text block, or actually an image. So it goes beneath that. And I have this, it's time to design with sales in mind. And I'm just going through, the call to action is actually going to go under this. So there's that. So I'm adding a text block, an image block for this. This is an image. I'm adding, it looks like another text block and then a button. The cool thing about buttons in these sales pages is that they can be added inside of any text block, okay? So if you already have a text block that you're working on, you can add in a call to action by checking on this include CTA button here. So that is our first block here. And like I said, it does not look perfect whatsoever. We're just smacking stuff down, okay? Now let's move on to our next section. So our next section is this sales and design, our deeply connected statistic. And we have this whole statistic happening here. Okay, so the next thing that we're gonna do, I might even rename this just to make it easy on myself and call it section 1, okay? Then I'm going to move on. So I'm gonna add a section for just that quote. And I think that what feels most appropriate based on the reference that I have is just a text block So I'm just going to add a text block, and you see it looks like this. I'm just going to go ahead and copy paste my text, and there's nothing else in this block. There's not even a button or anything, so I could probably just keep it as a text block. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename it. By default, all your new sections will go to the bottom here. So just note that. We'll call it section 2. Okay. And then I'm just going to click and drag this to the top. And then I'm going to go ahead, and then I have this, does this sound familiar section? Okay. So these are like little blurbs here. So let's see what would make sense for that. It might be a text section where we have different, you know what? I think it's actually going to be that again. I think it's going to be a testimonial section again. It could be maybe an FAQ depending on what your vision is for it, but I'm going to add another text section. And the cool thing about the text blocks in general is that you can change the background color on these blocks. So you see how here I have this white block background color, and then here I have a different one. You can change what the background is per block. So that's my strategy here. So the other thing that you can do is you can duplicate sections. Okay. So I'm going to use this for my actual blurb here. And then I'm going to use this part for my title. Now, Kajabi does not distinguish between titles and text, so you just use text blocks for whatever. Okay, and now we're just gonna keep on building. So I'm gonna move through it like this, etc. Okay, cool. Now I'm not gonna go ahead and do all of these right now. I just want to get to the part where I have this image again. And I want to make sure I add another image. Boom. Okay. So we're going to do that. All right. Now we're going to move on to the next section. So as you can see, it's pretty clear how you can move through and just go ahead and walk through section by section and just really choose like what is going to work for you. This design is a little bit more on the complex side. But I might simplify it. Now I'm going to skip forward just a little bit in the design just to show you what I would do for something that's not a text, like a center text section. So something like this where I have this instructor bubble right here. And that's me. The picture's a couple years old, but it's all good. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I would work with that. So if I had a section with an image and text, I would choose this text and image block like this. And then if I wanted to reorder the way that they appeared so that my image was on the left like this, I would do it like so. And then all I would do to add my image is hit this pick file button, and I would upload the image. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab this from my existing site and re-upload this. Hit save, upload a file, and boom, it's there. Okay, and then I'm going to grab this text here. Like I said, 4 9 later, so we're not going to worry about that right now. I'm just slapping everything down on the page. Okay. And we have a very similar section, except for Nate is on the left in this example. So we are going to remember. I'm going to just go ahead and duplicate this film. And then I'm going to remember to the left. Upload new. That in. Now add Brady's bio. Okay, so we're getting somewhere, as you can see. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do, and remember guys, keep like naming your sections as you go. I'm getting messy here because I'm trying to show you quickly, but now we might want to move forward into actually like styling these. Okay, you can even upload things like video. This is a custom image that shows people that it's a video, but you don't need this. You can just have a video if you want. And these, like the way that I did these module sections on my original page is these are actually just images. So you could just like, you know, download your outline, or like if you have a webinar and just show them what's inside that way. There's lots of different ways to do it, but I hope I just demonstrated how easy it is to upload your images to Kajabi. Other sections that are available to you to work with as well are things like pricing tables. So if you go to pricing cards or pricing option, I love these, right? And so I just want to have 2 pricing options. So I'm just going to delete the one block, and this kind of auto adjusts. Okay. Now that we have all of our sections down, I want to show you how all of this is like spaced out and how you can actually style it to match this a little bit better. Okay, so the first thing that you need to know is the way that Kajabi works in terms of spacing. Okay, so the amount of space that your sections take up is revealed in the original section settings. So basically the first time you click in, and then if you go to desktop layout, you can choose if your section is full width, meaning it spreads all the way across, or if it's kind of blocked in like this, okay? And the same with if it's full height, meaning it touches the top and bottom of the screen for the user, or if it's not, okay? So that's one thing. The other thing is you can choose the alignment of your elements, okay? So if I wanted to make everything right aligned, I would choose this. Now, I find that it's the easiest and most mobile responsive viewpoint to have everything just be center aligned through like all the way down the page, unless I have like big text areas, like for instance, my bio, Brittany's bio, by default, that is a lot easier to read if things are left aligned, okay? But let's see, okay, this image, for instance, I wanted to be my course title image. So what I'm gonna do for that is I'm gonna grab my course title image. I'm gonna go ahead and upload it. So upload a new file, drag here. But as you'll see very soon, this spacing is way too big, okay? And as you see up here, the width is controlled by this column width. Now, by default, it goes through a 12 grid system. And so 12 will be our max. And then basically it's like if you divided the page by 12, this is gonna be, 9/12 of the page. So I need this to be much smaller, so I'm just making it 4 columns, okay? But now it's so small that this is coming up next to it, because by default, 8 columns and 4 columns are 12, and it's just kind of like stacking everything in the next order. So to make this full width without this getting in the way, I could either do one of two things. I could do this where I say, this is going to be 12 columns like that. Or what I could do instead is I can make it so that this right here, let me put this back to 8 so you can see a true demo. I can make it so this image right here says place this block in its own row, and it will just go down to the next row so that you don't have to mess with the actual width of this section. So that's how that works. So if I wanted elements to be next to each other that weren't next to each other, I would just make sure that that they add up to 12. So for instance, if I wanted, or 12 or less, honestly. So, if I wanted these two to be next to each other, I'd make them 6 columns and 6 columns, and they'd go next to each other. Okay, so that is how that works. Okay, so then what we're gonna do is we wanna make sure that all of our titles are formatted with our heading font, if they're a heading. This, as you can see, now some text blocks have different text alignment. So this has left text alignment inside of the actual block settings. Okay, so the block settings and the actual section settings are different. So this controls the whole section, and then this controls individual elements within the section. And you will grow to appreciate that as you get a little bit more sophisticated with your design. So what I'm gonna do is go into the block settings, and I'm gonna make this center aligned. And then I want this to stretch across a larger space like that. Something else you can do as you go is you can mobile optimize, or optimize for different screens as well, by clicking on this responsive previewer tool. So that's really helpful as well. If you ever have a section that you're like, man, this is great, but inside of mobile, it's just not really working for me, what I like to do is I will actually duplicate the section, and then I will do a thing where in desktop, I hide the block and I show it in mobile, so it's visible in mobile. And then on mobile, I'll hide the desktop optimized block, and then I'll show it in desktop. And that way you can have blocks that show, like let's say I want it left aligned like this for mobile, but I want it So you can mobile optimize that way by having duplicate blocks. But by default, a lot of these have settings specifically for mobile. So as you can see, there's a mobile layout that's different, and this is left aligned in mobile. If I wanted it to match my desktop layout, I can hit the center alignment tool. And so that is how you style. Now, there's a couple of other things that I want to mention. So by default, inside of Kajabi, when you have something that's a dark background, your text is going to appear light. So for instance, this statistic here has a dark background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my background color, and PS, you can add images or video as your backgrounds as well. And then what you're going to do is click here and paste. And then you see how that just turns light? By default, it's just going to do that because Kajabi is smart and knows, oh, on a dark background, you're going to want light text. And so it's going to show you how that works. And then what you want to do is, like, if you have a text block like this, just go through and actually change the settings so that they match the design that you want them to do. So, okay, you see that? So you can just go through your sections. Now I'm going to show you how to make these blocks different colors. Okay, so you're going to grab your page background from this, and then under background in your section settings, you're going to add in your background color. Boom. And then these guys have a rounded border like this and a different background color. There's just have a white background. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit background, block background color. By default, it might not have anything, and we're going to make it white instead. Then we want to change the border radius so that it's rounded. See that? And it looks like we also need some padding in here. Now, padding is going to be like the inside spacing of something. Okay, so we might want to make it 20 pixels. I normally start with 20 or even 10, depending on how small or how big it is. And even though it might not look like you can add more, you can type things in. Okay, so that's how that works. So now you can see you can walk through the different sections of your page and set up your settings here. Okay, so as you can see, the rigidity of Kajabi lets you see what options are actually available to you, and look at all these cool things that they have. I think the best way to do it is just to quickly map out your content and then go through and make sure that the general like content blocks exist. And then you can go through, like I have been, and tweak the actual design settings. It just makes it a lot easier to feel like you are moving through your process, which is always encouraging. When you're done, you're going to hit save. Now, the very last thing that you need to do is make sure that any buttons that you have on the page actually go to either a checkout page or pop-up checkout, or, you know, if you want them to go to another section on this page, you can actually connect other sections, which is kind of cool. But you want to make sure that you don't forget to link those, because it's very important for a sales page to actually be able to make you sales, right? Okay, the last thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to actually update your SEO settings and whatnot for this. So what you're going to do is back here under website, pages, landing pages, you're going to go here to the little 3 dots and then hit edit details. When you edit the details, this is where you can add your social and sharing features, and you can change the URL of your page. Okay. And then if you wanted to go ahead and do something like, and you can also choose if your page shows in search results or not. Like, do you want people to be able to see this in Google or when they search your website? And then you can change your page from draft to published, and you'll be good to go. How cool is that? You can grab your URL here and preview your page live. It's coming along. And if you're brand new to launching online and you want a free toolkit to help you get started and actually prep and launch a digital offer, then I have a free launch toolkit linked below. It includes a sales page copy template, a Kajabi launch checklist, a launch playbook just in general, helping you plan out your launch, plus my link to try Kajabi free for 30 days. So for more of that and for resources from me, then head to thelaunchpeople.com or just click the link below and you can get your toolkit. My team at thelaunchpeople.com is also available for hire for custom projects, so you can check out Launch Into or submit an inquiry on our website for custom work. If this video helped you, please like it. And if you want more content around designing for your online business, then subscribe to Launch with Chris, this channel. Ring that bell. Now, I want to leave you with this. Please don't quit now. Really see through bringing your vision to life. Everything worth doing, especially in business, usually comes with a little bit of resistance, but it is worth it to push through. And once you push through the learning curve, you, like I said, will be flying. So I definitely want to hear what your battle is today, and I would love to encourage you. So feel free to leave any comments below telling me about your journey. I hope this helped you, and we'll catch you next time.